When I was about to buy this derelict ship, my best friend would rather take a loss and snatch away the ship that should have been mine. Watching her unusual actions, I am certain that she has also been reborn. In my previous life, I was in the scrap recycling business. By chance, I bought a scrap ship. While inspecting the ship, I found an iron box inside, containing 1 billion in cash and half a box of gold ingots. My best friend loved gambling and had accumulated a lot of debt. Seeing me become rich overnight, buying luxury cars, and frequenting high-end places, she grew jealous of me and lured me to a scrapyard. Several tons of steel poured down, crushing me to death. After my death, my soul left my body. Watching her and my boyfriend disguise the murder as an accident, fooling the police. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I bought the boat. This boat cannot be sold to her. Susie's voice was so loud it made my ears ache. Why? I raised my eyes to look at her. I want to buy it too. Let me have this boat. Why should I let you have it? Shouldn't things be done in order of who came first? The old man selling the boat also spoke up for me. I've already settled on a price with Miss Lin, agreed on the price, so it's a deal. Sushi spotted the issue. The old man nodded. That's easy, whatever she offers. I'll add another 500,000. Seeing Sushi's determined expression, I was certain that she had also been reborn. Lin Lan, you wouldn't rather take a loss just to compete with me, would you? When she said this, there was clearly some probing, as if she was confirming whether I had also been reborn. The price I offered to uncle was already not low, and adding another 50,000 yuan would make this deal unprofitable. Moreover, I don't necessarily have to buy this boat. Since you want it, I'll let you have it. The old man spoke up to remind her. Miss Su, this boat has been involved in a fatal accident. It's only being sold as scrap out of necessity. Are you sure you still want it? Absolutely, absolutely. What does it matter if there was a death? I just need to find what's inside the boat. As soon as the words left her mouth, she realized she had said too much and immediately fell silent. I know what she wants to say and smile slightly. In my previous life, I was in the scrap recycling business. An old man came to my door to sell a boat. It was a scrapped boat, and someone had died on it. Since second-hand boats couldn't be sold, the old man had no choice but to come to me to see if the boat could be dismantled and sold as scrap steel. Although the old man's asking price was quite high, I thought that even a fly's leg is still meat, and as long as there's profit to be made, I'd even dare to sell nails from a coffin lid. So I bought it, but later, while inspecting the ship, I discovered the immense treasure hidden inside, and from then on, I became rich overnight. Meanwhile, Susie, due to her gambling addiction, lost all her family fortune and even accumulated a mountain of debt, sinking her life into a quagmire. So after her rebirth, the first thing she did was to try to seize the treasure that should have rightfully been mine. I see that many boats are being sold these days. You might as well ask around and buy a few more. Sushi said faintly. I nodded. The price of scrap steel has also been rising recently. She chuckled, mocking me. You're destined to be a junk collector all your life. Even if you sell a lot of scrap steel, you won't get rich overnight. I pretended not to understand her. Although this boat is sold as scrap, the price isn't cheap. If you're short on money, I can help you, or we can split the cost. She was determined to keep the treasure for herself and wouldn't share it with me. Who says I don't have the money? I'll pay in full, right now. The old man was also pleasantly surprised, never expecting her to be so straightforward, and his hesitant heart settled down. Miss Su, really, paying the full amount? Nonsense. Would I lie to you? As she spoke, she took out a bank card from her pocket. This is half the deposit, and the other half will be transferred to your bank account after the transfer procedures are completed. The old man was full of gratitude. You are truly a living bodhisattva. Let's go sign the contract. I watched them leave with a calm heart. I opened the website and started looking for the next seller. Soon I found a suitable seller and was about to call for consultation. Then my boyfriend Zhang Hao showed up. He was a hardcore gamer who rarely showed his face. Lin Lan, let's break up, he said directly. I wasn't surprised at all, but I still asked him, why? I've already gotten bored of it long ago. I just didn't tell you. Have you been cheating? And just at that moment, Sushi walked over and wrapped her arms around Zhang Hao's waist. Isn't it obvious? Sushi brazenly admitted. I pretended to be furious. How could you do this to me? Seeing my angry expression, they were very happy. To be honest, If it weren't for the fact that you can make money, I would have wanted to dump you long ago. Now that I'm about to become rich, there's no need for me to endure the disgust of smelling the garbage stench on you anymore. I laughed. I work in waste recycling, not garbage picking, so how could I have a foul smell on me? Only a scumbag like him would spew such filthy nonsense, back when my scrap business was just starting to take off. He came chasing after me. Once he got me, he completely slacked off and stopped working, and I never said a word about it. Later, he begged me to bring Susie into the business. After I agreed, I taught her everything step by step, and I even paid for her to open a stall at the scrap center. If it weren't for me, would you be living the good life you have today? Don't take yourself too seriously. It was you who insisted on helping us in the first place, Zhang Hao sneered, not missing the chance to mock. Stop clinging to us, Lin Lan. From now on, we're going to be rich, and no one wants a poor friend who scavenges for a living, Su Qian said with a look of disdain. So, you'd better be sensible and leave us on your own. What a despicable couple. They looked at each other and burst out laughing. I'd like to see how well the two of you can do without me. I interrupted their laughter. Fantasizing about getting rich with a broken boat, you're truly daydreaming. You're just being stubborn now, but once we get the boat, you'll see if I'm dreaming or not. I sneered inwardly. That boat had already been stripped clean, and even if there were any treasure, it wouldn't fall into the hands of these two fools. Susie and Zhang Hao announced with great fanfare that they had something big to reveal, gathering their colleagues from the recycling center together. Susie, what's the matter? Everyone is still busy. Starting today, I won't be doing business at the recycling center anymore. Susie deliberately cleared her throat. I'm selling all my stalls and resources as a package deal, first come, first served. Some were puzzled. Your business is doing pretty well, why quit all of a sudden? Some also spoke up to persuade. Yes, shouldn't you reconsider? Sushi interrupted directly. I'm sorry, but I've recently come into a huge fortune, and I'm about to become a billionaire, so this kind of lowly business is no longer fitting for my status. Everyone was taken aback, doubting if they had heard correctly. How much have you had to drink to get like this? Daydreaming in broad daylight. I heard you went to Macau again. Did you win big? Next time, take me along. If she can win, then pigs can fly. Her luck is such that not losing money is already good enough. Hearing these compliments or doubts, she decided to show everyone something. 3 days from now, at the South Bay Pier, you'll see when you get there. After saying that, she sent the address to the group chat of her fellow recyclers at the waste center. I was too lazy to listen to her nonsense, so I took out my phone and privately contacted a fellow professional I had a good relationship with. I typed out some things to tell him, and by the time I was done, it was getting late. I closed up the stall and prepared to drive home. Unexpectedly, I ran into the two of them again in the parking lot. Susie looked at my Range Rover with an expression of disbelief. How can you afford this? After a few seconds, she suddenly realized, so you're just renting a second-hand one to save face. I thought you were so rich. I was speechless and directly showed her the payment record from the 4S store. Open your dog eyes and take a good look. Top of the line, paid in full, 3.7 million. Susie stared intently at the payment records, her expression complicated, and it took her a long time to calm down. What's so great about it? I could buy 10 of these cars, but you, buying just this one must have drained all your savings, right? Mind your own business, Zhang Hao interjected. Lin Lan, give up. Even if you buy a nice car to win me over, I won't come back to you. I rolled my eyes. Cut the crap. If you're really rich, go buy one yourself. If you're broke, just get lost and stop being so sour here. Susie's competitive spirit was ignited by my words. Fine, I'll buy one. Who's afraid of who? I'm going right now. She rushed to the 4S store in a flurry, without hesitation. He bought a Range Rover identical to mine. As soon as he got the car, he immediately took photos and videos to post on his moments. He even tagged me, afraid that I wouldn't see it. I sneered inwardly. It was that easy to trick him, so I decided to pour more fuel on the fire. In the following days, she completely locked horns with me. Whenever I posted something on my social media feed, she would immediately buy the exact same thing to compete with me in secret. But she didn't know that all those posts were visible only to her. I had specifically posted them for her to see. Since she enjoys competing with me so much, I'm curious to see how long she can keep it up. On this weekend, I arranged to meet a few friends for horse riding training. Just as I was selecting a horse in the stable, a commotion came from the entrance. Why can't I go in? Hearing an argument, everyone's gaze turned towards that direction. I didn't expect it to be Susie and Zhang Hao again. They really are like lingering ghosts. The stable manager quickly came over to mediate. Ma'am, sir. It's not that we won't let you in, it's just that we operate on a membership system here. A rundown stable still requires membership. Let's go, we'll find another one. As she spoke, she was about to pull Zhang Hao away, but as soon as she turned around, she saw me. Why are you here too? This isn't a place for someone like you, a pauper. Zhang Hao also stepped forward to speak. Are you stalking me? I've told you so many times. No matter how much you harass me, I won't even spare you a glance. Harass you, you wish. I rolled my eyes. I was here first. I'm a member here. Susie didn't believe my words. You can afford a membership. The manager stepped forward to speak for me. Ms. Lin is indeed a member of ours. Seeing that even I could afford a membership, Susie also gained confidence. Then get me a membership too. Pfft. Someone in the crowd couldn't help but laugh. What's so funny? Susie's expression changed. The manager tried his best not to laugh out loud. Ma'am, we don't have a concept of recharging membership here. You can purchase a horse from our stable to gain membership. Did she buy one too? Susie pointed at me. The manager nodded. Then I want to buy it too. Susie went to the stable and began selecting a horse. I want this one. She chose a brown horse. All right, ma'am, this is a Dutch warmblood, valued at 5 million. Susie was taken aback. That expensive? Donkey meat soup is only 15 a bowl. Everyone couldn't hold back and burst into laughter. The manager patiently explained, because it's a purebred horse, the price is a bit higher. What about your horse? Susie squinted her eyes at me. I pointed at the white horse beside me. Then I want this one too. Susie smiled triumphantly. She thought I definitely couldn't afford an expensive horse, so as long as she chose the same as me, it would be safe. This one of mine costs 12 million. I said calmly. Susie's mouth gaped open, her expression one of shock. These are the only 2 Hanoverian purebred horses in our stable, the manager interjected, seizing the opportunity. Ms. Lin was just about to buy the other one. Susie hesitated. The price was indeed steep for her. I was getting impatient. Are you buying it or not? If not, I'll buy it. After saying that, I asked the manager to bring my horse. Seeing Susie's defeat in front of me, she was so angry that she almost ground her teeth to pieces. She quickly stopped the manager, who said I'm not buying. Zhang Hao tugged at her sleeve. That's 12 million yuan. Isn't it too expensive? Lin Lan has it, and I can't be without it. Susie was caught up in the moment and insisted on flaunting her wealth in front of me, urging the manager to quickly arrange the purchase procedures. They maxed out all their bank cards but still couldn't scrape together 12 million. Zhang Hao wanted to persuade her further, but Susie had already called the loan shark, Boss Tang. The money arrived quickly, and she smoothly paid off the remaining balance. 3 days passed quickly. During this time, the assets of her scrap collection center were also sold. With this money, plus the money she borrowed from loan sharks, she managed to gather enough to pay the remaining balance for the boat. After completing the transfer procedures at the notary office, the ownership of the boat was officially transferred to her name. Seeing that it was getting late, I made an appointment with my companions to meet at the South Bay Wharf. Everyone was puzzled, wanting to see how Susie planned to make her fortune. At that moment, Susie and Zhang Hao also arrived at the scene. She scanned the crowd and, seeing that I was there too, nodded with satisfaction. Now that everyone is here, let's board the ship together. This was an abandoned dock, with only a few derelict ships left. Susie easily found the boat she had purchased by matching the vessel number on the photo and contract. Upon seeing the boat, everyone was puzzled. This boat looks old and worn out, probably already scrapped. It shouldn't be worth much, right? Yeah, even a brand new medium-sized boat wouldn't be exorbitantly priced. Are you planning to scrap it for steel? But you've already sold your stall. What use do you have for this ship? Noticing everyone's confusion, Susie snorted coldly. Although this ship isn't worth much, there are valuable things inside. Now that the ownership of the ship is in my hands, naturally, the contents belong to me as well. Someone suddenly thought of something. Could there be treasure inside the ship? But that's just a plot from treasure hunting novels. You don't actually believe in that, Do you? Everyone was shocked, though a few clear-headed individuals remained. You just got the boat too. How do you know there's something valuable inside? Even if Sushi were the most foolish, she wouldn't reveal the secret of her rebirth. Just consider me clairvoyant, seeing her so confident. Someone actually believed it and quickly went to flatter her. Sister she, considering we've worked together for so many years, don't forget to pull your brother up when you get rich. Susie was somewhat intoxicated by the flattery of these people, her lips curling into a smirk. Let's talk about the treasure after we get it. Together, everyone boarded the ship, where rust-covered decks still bore traces of unwashed bloodstains. Susie took out the key given by the old man, unlocked the cabin door, and gently pushed it open. The door creaked as it swung inward, and everyone craned their necks to look inside, a pitch-black void. Seeing the eerie nature of the ship, some of the more timid individuals began to feel nervous. I heard someone died here, didn't they? It feels like there's something unclean inside. It's better not to go in. What are you afraid of? Susie lit the kerosene lamp she had picked up by the door and mustered her courage to step into the pitch-black cabin. Suddenly, a woman's face appeared right before her eyes. Ah! She was so startled she nearly threw the lamp away, hastily retreating back onto the deck. Just then, a disheveled woman rushed out from the cabin, clutching a wooden stick as a weapon in both hands. Who are you? Why are you on my boat? Seeing her like this, I took a few steps back to avoid getting involved. Sushi was a bit dazed. Why would the woman claim this boat as hers? It was clearly the boat she had fully paid for after signing the contract. This is my boat. Get out of here right now. Why should I leave? What's wrong with me being on my own boat? The woman glared viciously at Sushi. Susie carefully compared the serial numbers on the photo and the contract again. There was no mistake. This was indeed the ship she had purchased. She immediately flared up. Are you out of your mind? This is my ship. Who gave you permission to board without my consent? You're the one who's out of your mind. This is my husband's ship, and what's his is mine. As for you, trying to steal my ship, not a chance. Susie pulled out a stack of documents. This is the contract for the ship purchase, in black and white. Now get off my ship, right now. Zhang Hao also stepped forward to speak. Crazy woman, get lost quickly. The ownership of this ship already belongs to Susie. If you don't leave now, don't blame me for taking action against you. How dare you hit me? I'll fight you both. With that, the woman raised a wooden stick, ready to fight the two of them desperately. Without a contract or any proof, you claim the ship is hers. I think this woman has mental issues. I'll just drive her away myself. Zhang Hao rolled up his sleeves, preparing to take action. The woman let out a scream. Don't drive me away. This is my ship. I have a contract. After saying that, the woman ducked into the cabin and quickly brought out a contract. Susie flipped through the contract a few pages and revealed a shocked expression. Apart from the different names in the buyer information section, the content of these two contracts was almost identical. How can the same ship have two contracts? One of them must be fake. You said the ship belongs to your husband, so call your husband out. My contract has been certified by the notary office, so your contract must be the fake one. When the woman mentioned her husband, her eyes became evasive. My husband has gone to sea and hasn't returned yet. He's been sailing this ship for 10 years. How can you say it's not his? Then call him. The phone should work, right? The woman stammered and refused to make the call. At this point, Sushi also realized, I can see you're just a crazy troublemaker. There's no husband. It's all fake. Get out before I lose my temper. Zhang Hao picked up the contract and carefully flipped through it. This contract is fake. There's not a single stamp on it, so it has no legal effect whatsoever. Susie also leaned her head over to take a look. Sure enough, none of the places that should have been stamped had any seals. It seems this contract was forged by the woman. That's right. Let's give the old man a call and have him take the woman away. Susie nodded. The boat was sold by Uncle, and the contract was also provided by him. The two contracts were almost identical, so she must have a connection with Uncle. You can still leave now, but you won't be so lucky when people arrive. After dialing the phone, Uncle quickly arrived with his helpers. Seeing the woman, the old man wiped his tears repeatedly. Daughter-in-law, I've been looking for you for days. How did you end up on the boat? Hearing that the old man and the woman were in-laws, Sushi became furious. So, it turns out you're all in on this scam together. The old man quickly apologized. Miss Sue, you've misunderstood. My daughter-in-law is ill. It turned out that the original owner of the ship was the old man's son. While sailing, the son encountered pirates who not only looted the cargo but also caused the entire crew to perish upon learning of her husband's death. Wang Xiuyan, the daughter-in-law, suffered a mental breakdown and was diagnosed with a mental illness. Since then, she has been constantly muttering that her husband will definitely return, because all the money was compensated to the families of the victims. The old man's savings were completely depleted, left with no other choice. He had to sell the boat to pay for Wang Xiuyan's medical treatment. A few days ago, when he went out to sell the boat, Wang Xiuyan secretly ran away from home. If it weren't for Susie's phone call, he would still be searching for Wang Xiuyan all over the world. My husband isn't dead. This is my husband's boat, and I'm going to wait here for him to come back. Wang Xiuyan cried out in anguish. Susie didn't hold back, striking a blow. Your husband died long ago, feeding the fish in the sea, and he'll never come back in this lifetime. You're talking nonsense, Wang Xiuyan loudly accused. My husband isn't dead. He even promised to take me out to sea with him. Susie wanted to continue, hitting her where it hurt. I couldn't stand it anymore and directly interrupted her. She's already lost her husband, poor enough as it is. Why don't you show a little kindness and just let the old man take her away? Everyone nodded in agreement, feeling sympathy for Wang Xiuyan's plight, so she didn't continue to argue, as finding the treasure was the main priority. Old man, take her away quickly, and I won't pursue the matter further. The old man bowed repeatedly. I'm really sorry, I've caused you so much trouble. I'll take her away right now. When she heard she was going to be forcibly taken away, Wang Xiuyan immediately became agitated. I'm not leaving. I want to stay here and wait for my husband to come back. It's all because of you, you bitch, trying to drive me out. I'm going to fight you. With that, Wang Xiuyan raised a wooden stick and swung it at Su Shi. Su Shi was unprepared and took a wooden stick right across her face, causing her to scream in pain. The old man quickly grabbed Wang Xiuyan's hand to stop her from hitting anyone else. Wang Xiuyan, when she went berserk, had immense strength, and the old man alone couldn't handle her. Fortunately, his helpers also stepped in to restrain her. No matter how strong she was, she couldn't overpower two men. She was thus forcibly dragged off the boat by the two of them. So she covered her forehead and muttered under her breath, "This crazy woman. She's killing me with pain." Zhang Hao came up, concerned, and said, "You're bleeding. That crazy woman really went all out. Let's apply some hemostatic medicine." He turned his head and ordered me, "Lin Lan, go buy some medicine right now." I gave him a cold look. "Are you crazy? Why should I take orders from you?" Zhang Hao looked serious. "I'm giving you a chance. Once we find the treasure and become rich, even if you come to flatter me later, I won't agree. Let's find the treasure first. We don't have anything yet, so don't get so arrogant." Some of the companions couldn't stand it anymore. "The wound isn't big, and the bleeding has stopped. We should focus on finding the item. We've all been friends for years. There's no need to let something like this harm our feelings." Sushi glared at me. "You're right. Let's talk about it after we find the item." We walked into the cabin together, where traces of the fight with the pirates were still visible. Susie paused at the door of the lounge, poking her head in to take a look. "In my previous life, I found the large iron box right here." Zhang Hao immediately started rummaging through the lounge, while Susie crawled under the bed, searching for the large iron box. She felt a handle under the bed and immediately got excited. "Here, there's a hidden door here." Zhang Hao immediately came over to help, and together they moved the iron bed aside. A square hidden door appeared before everyone's eyes. Zhang Hao couldn't wait to lift the hidden door, revealing a pitch-black secret passage extending to the bottom of the ship. He raised the kerosene lamp and peered inside. "I see it. It looks like the corner of a box." He was so excited that he jumped into the secret passage without a second thought, and sure enough, a large iron box lay quietly inside. "Is there any rope?" Zhang Hao tried to move the iron box but found it impossible to lift. Soon, Sushi found a nylon rope. Zhang Hao tied the rope around the iron box and called for everyone to work together to lift the box up. The iron box was carefully placed on the ground, only to find that it was locked with a padlock. Sushi tried all the keys given by the old man, but none of them fit. "Go find a hammer, break the lock open. The money must be inside." Without a word, Zhang Hao ran out of the lounge to find a hammer. Everyone was also very excited, eager to see what was inside the iron box. However, Susie stood in front of the crowd as if guarding against thieves. Soon, Zhang Hao returned with an iron hammer. He spat twice onto his hands, rubbed them together, and swung his arms in a wide arc. Once, twice, 10 times. Only when Zhang Hao's palms were split open did he hear a bang, and the lock was broken. Sushi threw the broken lock to the side. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the moment the box would be opened. Snap, the treasure chest was opened. Stacks of neatly arranged red and white items appeared before everyone's eyes, with golden things piled up in the corner. We're rich. Sushi trembled as she picked up the top stack. She flipped through it a few times. The joy on her face instantly vanished. Everyone was puzzled and moved closer to take a look. On the banknote were the 4 large characters, Heaven and Earth Bank. This is ghost money. Where's my cash? She grabbed a handful of gold ingots, but with a slight squeeze, they collapsed. It turned out to be a pile of paper props. Seeing this, Zhang Hao also turned the iron box upside down, but not a single real bill was found. Sushi plopped down on the ground, her eyes vacant. She still wasn't giving up, her hands fumbling over the iron box, trying to find a hidden compartment. Sushi, is this what you called treasure? These 2 spirit money bills, they work down there, but they're worthless up here. I'm convinced. Are you taking us for fools? This whole afternoon is going to cost me a lot of business. Let's go, let's go, let's humor her and play along with this act. What a wicked heart. After learning that there was no treasure in the iron box, everyone gave her a cold look. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Zhang Hao pulled her up. Right, the treasure must still be here. Let's search more carefully. Susie nodded. Yes, it must still be here. Let's search again. Unwilling to give up, the 2 thoroughly searched the lounge from top to bottom. This time, he was more thorough, not missing a single corner, and Zhang Hao even smashed the walls, but found nothing. Damn it, there's nothing here. Zhang Hao kicked over the treasure chest, spilling its contents all over the floor. At that moment, Wang Xiuyan, who had just been dragged away by the old man, sneaked back onto the bed. What are you doing with my money? Seeing the money scattered all over the floor from the iron box, Wang Xiuyan's eyes turned red with anxiety. Susie suddenly thought of something. Wang Xiuyan, did you take the real money? What real money? This is the ransom money for my husband. Wang Xiuyan's mind had snapped, and she was convinced that her husband was still alive, that as long as they gathered enough ransom, the pirates would release him. This iron box of ghost money was what she had hidden in the secret passage to ransom her husband. Seeing that Wang Xiuyan couldn't provide any useful information, Sushi suddenly turned to look at me. Lin Lan, tell me, where is the money? I spread my hands. How would I know? This is your ship. You should ask yourself. You must know. You became rich after buying this ship. Everyone found it strange. Lin Lan didn't buy the ship either. Didn't you buy this ship yourself? Is there any treasure or not? We've wasted the whole afternoon for nothing. I think Susie is so obsessed with money that she's gone mad, fantasizing about treasure here and deceiving us all. I smiled faintly. This was just an ordinary ship to begin with. I was only planning to sell it as scrap steel. But you insisted on competing with me. Now that there's no treasure, you're blaming me. Zhang Hao pushed me aside forcefully. I think you knew all along there was nothing in this ship and deliberately set a trap to harm us. I couldn't take it anymore and slapped him across the face. What kind of people are you two, that I would even bother to frame you, dreaming of getting rich overnight? How could there be such an easy thing in the world? A despicable couple. Get lost now. Realizing there was no treasure here, the two fell apart emotionally. I took the opportunity to add, you spent quite a bit showing off your wealth in front of me earlier. Don't forget to pay me back. Hearing this, Zhang Hao immediately distanced himself. I didn't buy anything. This has nothing to do with me. Sushi caught on. You had a share in what I bought. You're going to pay me back too. For me, you're just trying to satisfy your own vanity. I won't pay a single cent. You have to pay it back, or I won't let this go. Zhang Hao picked up the hell money from the ground and threw it in her face. You want money, right? Here. Take it all. With that, he walked toward the door. Susie held on to Zhang Hao tightly, refusing to let go. You can't leave. You have to help me pay off the debt. Wang Xiuyan saw Zhang Hao touching her money and joined the fight. The restroom instantly turned into chaos. Everyone, afraid of being involved, watched from a distance. In Wang Xiuyan's eyes, these were two robbers. She went all out, grabbing Susie's hair with both hands, biting Zhang Hao's arm, and holding her own against the two of them. Zhang Hao felt a sharp pain from the bite and suddenly pulled his arm away, but Wang Xiuyan's bite was incredibly strong, tearing off a chunk of flesh from his arm. Zhang Hao let out a cry of agony, and rage surged within him. He kicked Wang Xiuyan to the ground. This crazy woman. Zhang Hao picked up a gasoline can that was piled in the corner and poured all the gasoline over Wang Xiuyan. You want money, huh? Take these hell notes and go see your husband. He picked up the kerosene lamp and threw it at Wang Xiuyan. With a crash, the kerosene lamp shattered, and the flames ignited the gasoline. Wang Xiuyan was instantly engulfed in fire, writhing in agony on the ground. Zhang Hao immediately realized he had caused a disaster. He pushed through the crowd, rushed out the door, and jumped from the deck into the water, disappearing without a trace. Watching Wang Xiuyan scream in pain, everyone wanted to put out the fire, but the flames were too intense. No one dared to get close, so they could only go look for firefighting tools. I wasn't idle either. I was about to go out and call the fire department, but Sushi grabbed my hand. You can't leave. Let go. I need to call for help. Wang Xiuyan is beyond saving, but you can save me. Lend me some money, will you? You've been doing quite well financially lately, haven't you? Help me out. We're still good sisters, right? You wouldn't just stand by and watch me die, would you? I promise I'll pay back the money I borrowed. You have to believe me. I sneered and shook off her hand. Do you think I'm easy to fool? I died at your hands in my past life, and I won't be fooled again. Susie widened her eyes, showing an expression of disbelief. You've been reborn too? Yes, I've been reborn, Susie exclaimed. Impossible. How could you have been reborn? You're lying to me. If you were reborn, why didn't you buy this ship? I said disdainfully. Who told you I made my fortune because of this ship? While you were gambling in Macau, while you were cheating with Zhang Hao and indulging yourself, I was learning how to invest. I invested the money I earned into several promising companies. The most recent one successfully developed technology, bringing me a return of 1 billion yuan. Although investing has made me money, I have no intention of giving up my scrap recycling business. This is where I made my first fortune, and I have an emotional attachment to it. I have always been low-key, and the cars and horses I buy are for business entertainment. I worry that once my identity as an investor is revealed, people won't interact with me as casually as before, so I chose to hide it and said the money was found in a ship. I never even boarded that ship. After signing the contract, I hired someone to dismantle and sell it. I had no idea about the whole Wang Xiuyan affair. It's all your fault, Lin Lan. I won't let you off even as a ghost, she screamed frantically. But she no longer posed any threat to me. From then on, she lived each day in fear. Through everyone's efforts, Wang Xiuyan was rescued from the fire. Though severely burned, her life was saved. I couldn't bear it, so I donated a sum of money to her, hoping she could recover soon and start a new life, leaving the past behind. The police quickly found Zhang Hao, but only his body. In order to escape punishment, he jumped into the sea and found a snakehead overnight, attempting to sneak into Southeast Asia. However, when it came time to pay, he pulled out a stack of hell banknotes, trying to deceive his way through. The snakehead felt his intelligence was insulted, so he tied Zhang up and sold him to an organ smuggling organization. By the time the police found him, his body was already shattered. As for Sushi, the things she bought in full cash depreciated rapidly when resold secondhand. The usurious loans were impossible to repay, and the interest kept piling up. The stall at the recycling center that she owned was also bought out by a friend of mine, leaving her with no chance to restart her old business. Crushed by debt, she had no choice but to take a desperate risk, sneaking into the recycling center to steal some items to sell. Heaven is fair. As she passed through the scrap steel storage area, dozens of tons of steel suddenly collapsed, burying her beneath. She didn't even have a chance to cry for help, until discovered the next day, she had been crushed beyond recognition. This could be seen as the cycle of karma, retribution served without fail. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I was reborn, back to the day my fake sister pushed me down the stairs. At the same moment, a voice echoed in my mind, wasteful spending system activated. Spend 100 billion, or your entire family will die a violent death. I smiled. In my past life, it was this very system that allowed the fake heiress, Lin Weiwei, to take everything from me. It rewarded her for squandering money, yet every penny she spent was draining my own fortune. This time, Lin Weiwei looked at me expectantly, waiting for me to reject the system so it would bind to her instead. Yet, under the astonished gazes of my entire family, I accepted the binding. All right, I said with a smile, isn't it just about spending money? I'm the best at that. Lin Weiwei's face turned deathly pale. She didn't know that the ultimate bug of this system was that upon the host's death, all the money spent would be refunded tenfold to the heir designated by the host, and from the very beginning, I had no intention of surviving. The moment my body lost weight and fell, I was reborn. My back slammed heavily against the landing at the turn of the second-floor staircase, the intense pain instantly jolting me awake. I didn't die. I had returned to the age of 22, the day Lin Weiwei pushed me down the stairs. She stood upstairs, looking down at me from above, her face wearing the familiar mask of hypocrisy and concern. Sis, are you okay? I didn't mean to. I just wanted to hold you back. Her voice was sweet and soft, like poison coated in honey. In my past life, I was deceived by this very face, believing all her lies until my family was destroyed, and she personally sent me to a mental hospital, where I was tortured to death. It was also on this day that I rejected the suddenly appearing wasteful system. Ding. Divine-level spendthrift system binding in progress, a familiar yet icy voice echoed in my mind. Task: spend 10 billion within 1 month. Task success. Reward: eternal life. Mission failed. The host and all blood relatives will be completely erased from the world. I propped myself up and looked toward the upper floor. Besides the pitiful Lin Weiwei, my parents had also rushed over upon hearing the commotion. My father, Su Zhenxiong, frowned deeply. Su Nian, what are you causing trouble for again? Weiwei is your sister, can't you just give in a little? My mother, Chen Lan, chimed in. Exactly. How old are you? Still so immature. What if you scared your sister? In their eyes, there was only Lin Weiwei's pale face and her frightened expression. No one cared whether I lived or died. In my past life, when I heard the system's punishment, I was terrified out of my wits and screamed in panic. I refuse. Then, the system said, detected host refusal. Automatically searching for the next optimal binding candidate. Ding. Bound to the fake heiress, Lin Weiwei. From that day on, Lin Weiwei became the chosen one. She went on a shopping spree, buying luxury cars, yachts, and private jets. Every penny she spent earned her rewards from the system, beauty, talent, and the hearts of people. Meanwhile, our Su family, under her extravagance, had its fortune gradually drained away, rapidly declining. In the end, the company went bankrupt, the family assets were seized, and in despair, my parents both took their own lives. As for me, Lin Weiwei had me sent to hell on the grounds of mental instability. There, I finally learned from others that I was the true daughter of the Su family, while Lin Weiwei was merely an impostor who had been switched at birth. She had known the truth all along, which is why she meticulously used the system to destroy everything I had. At this moment, Lin Weiwei was glancing at me out of the corner of her eye, a hint of barely concealed smugness hidden at the corner of her mouth. She was waiting for me to scream and refuse. Just like in my previous life, then, immense good fortune would once again descend upon her. I looked at her and slowly smiled. Under the astonished and uncertain gazes of the three of them, I spoke clearly into the air. I accept. Su Nian, have you lost your mind? My father Su Zhenxiong's furious roar exploded in my ears. My mother also looked terrified. Nian Nian, who were you talking to just now? What acceptance or non-acceptance? Only Lin Weiwei's face instantly drained of all color. She stared at me intently, her eyes filled with disbelief. She could hear the system. She knew what I had accepted. Ding. The spendthrift system has been successfully bound. Host, Su Nian, newbie welcome pack has been issued. 1 black gold unlimited card with an initial limit of 10 billion. Countdown begins. 29 days, 23 hours, 59 minutes. I stood up from the ground, dusted off my clothes, ignored my parents who were almost fuming with anger, and walked straight up to Lin Weiwei. She instinctively took a Step back, her entire body trembling. Sister, I raised my hand and gently touched her cheek, feeling a chill upon contact. Little sister, don't be afraid. I leaned close to her ear and spoke in a voice only the two of us could hear. Your luck has run out. After saying that, I turned and walked away, leaving her frozen in place, her face as pale as a ghost. I need to start spending money immediately. Back in my room, I opened my computer, and the first thing I did was search for the most expensive unfinished building in the city. Sky City, located in the prime downtown area, has been suspended for 5 years due to the developer's broken capital chain, with an estimated value of $3 billion, and currently has no takers. This is it. I directly dialed the bankruptcy liquidator's phone number. Hello, I'll buy the Sky City project in full. The other party remained silent for a full 10 seconds before asking in a tone that seemed to say, "You must be a scammer, miss, are you?" "Sure, that's $3 billion, I'm sure." I recited the black gold card account number provided by the system. "Now, immediately, right away, start the procedures." Half an hour later, $3 billion was transferred out. The system prompt in my mind sounded, "Spent $3 billion, task progress 30%, host, well done, keep up the good work." The door was kicked open with a single blow. Su Zhenxiong held a bank statement. Trembling with rage, "Ungrateful daughter, you transferred $3 billion from the company's reserve funds. What on earth are you trying to do?" My mother followed behind him, crying, "Nian Nian, that's all the liquid funds our family has. How could you spend it so recklessly?" Lin Weiwei also came, her eyes red, timidly tugging at the hem of my mother's clothes. "Dad, Mom, don't blame sister. She definitely didn't mean it. Sister, please transfer the money back quickly. Dad's company is bidding on a piece of land next month." Her words were truly, perfectly timed. In my previous life, it was the failure to win the bid for this land that became the trigger for the Su family's decline. Su Zhenxiong's anger was further stoked by her. "Turn it back." She bought a stalled building, $3 billion went down the drain. "Su Nian, I'm going to beat you to death today, you wasteful girl." He raised his hand, ready to strike. I didn't dodge, just stared at him coldly. "Go ahead, hit me, you'd better kill me today. If I die, the mission fails, and all of you will have to accompany me to the grave." As I spoke, I focused my mind and projected the system agreement as a hologram in the center of the room. The blood-red characters seared their eyes. "Mission failed. The host and all blood relatives will be erased from the world." Su Zhenxiong's raised hand froze in midair. My mother's sobbing also abruptly ceased. They stared at the line of text in horror, then looked at me, the color draining from their faces. What is this?" Su Zhenxiong's voice trembled. "Monster, she's a monster," my mother shrieked, hiding behind him. Lin Weiwei's pupils suddenly contracted. She knew about the system, but she had no idea that its punishments could be so terrifying. What she didn't know was that this punishment was my greatest weapon for revenge. I stood up, walked over to them, and spoke word by word. "Now, you have two choices. First, shut your mouth and watch me spend money quietly. Second, kill me right now, and then, we'll turn to ashes together. Choose one." My dear family. The air was dead silent. They looked at me as if they were seeing a demon crawling back from hell. Su Zhenxiong's lips trembled for a long time, unable to utter a single word. In the end, he dejectedly lowered his arm. They were afraid, they feared death more than anyone else. From that day on, the Su family fell into an eerie calm. No one dared to yell at me anymore. The way they looked at me was filled with fear and loathing, yet they had no choice but to endure it. I embarked on a wild journey of squandering wealth. The next day, I acquired a nearly bankrupt junk food company for $2 billion. The news spread, and the entire business world laughed at me for being foolish and having too much money. Su Zhenxiong locked himself in his study and smashed his entire favorite set of purple clay teaware. On the third day, I spent $1 billion to buy a pile of worthless virtual real estate. My mother rushed up to me, wanting to scold me, but when she met my icy gaze, she swallowed her words. She could only glare at me with a venomous look in her eyes. Lin Weiwei was the most impatient. She rushed into my room and confronted me. "Su Nian, what exactly are you trying to do? Do you know that every cent the system spends is tied to the Su family's fortune? If you keep spending recklessly like this, the Su family will go bankrupt soon." "Oh." I put down the auction catalog in my hand and looked at her with great interest. So you knew about it too, she froze. Didn't you spend it quite happily in your past life? I asked with a smile. Lin Weiwei's face instantly turned deathly pale. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered, avoiding eye contact as she turned to run. I grabbed her wrist with such force that she cried out in pain. What are you running from? The real show is just beginning. My words were like a curse, completely unsettling Lin Weiwei. She began to stir up trouble in front of her parents. Dad, Mom, we can't let our sister continue like this. She's going to ruin our family. We can't just sit back and do nothing. We have to find a way to stop her. Su Zhenxiong was swayed by her words. He found me, his expression dark. Sun Yan, do you really have to push things to the point of mutual destruction? If we freeze your cards, you won't be able to spend a single cent, and none of us will die. He thought he had found a loophole in the system. Naive, I sneered and pulled up the system interface again. Warning, host's assets have been detected as frozen. Task progress hindered. Punishment mechanism activated. Erase 1% of the presence of one blood relative of the host per hour until the obstacle is resolved. On the projection screen, a countdown timer appeared next to Su Zhenxiong's name. At the same time, he let out a pained groan, clutching his chest. My chest hurts so much. My mom and Lin Weiwei stared at him in horror. Dad, what's wrong with you, old Su? I spoke slowly. I forgot to tell you, the system is omnipotent. Any action that hinders the task will trigger punishment. This is just the beginning. In a little while, you'll feel a part of yourselves disappearing, for example, a memory, or a finger. As soon as my words fell, Su Zhenxiong fearfully raised his left hand. His little finger was becoming transparent at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ah! A scream echoed through the villa. Undo it now. Su Zhenxiong roared at me like a madman. I'll undo it for you right away. He scrambled to make a phone call. A few minutes later, the bank's freeze was lifted. The transparent sensation in his hand vanished instantly, as if it had all been an illusion, but he collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath, his entire body soaked in cold sweat. I walked up to him, looking down at him from above. Now, do you still want to stop me? He shook his head in terror, unable to utter a single word. I smiled. You see, fear is the best bridle. I thought they would behave themselves from then on. But I underestimated their greed and foolishness. My wild spending continued, and the decline of the Su family arrived as expected. The company's stock price hit consecutive limit downs, partners terminated contracts one after another, and banks came knocking to demand repayment. The Su family, once a prominent and illustrious wealthy clan, was collapsing at a visible pace. They finally couldn't sit still any longer. That evening, when I returned home, I found a strange middle-aged man sitting in the living room. He was dressed in traditional Chinese attire, had a goatee, and looked like a highly accomplished master. Seeing me return, Su Zhenxiong immediately stood up. Sun Yan, let me introduce you. This is the renowned Master Zhang from the metaphysical circle. My mother also forced a smile. Nian, Master Zhang is here to help our family. You can tell the master anything. Lin Weiwei stood behind the master, head lowered, but a smug smile curled at the corner of her mouth. I understood instantly. They had brought in a professional to deal with my system using mystical methods. How laughable! The man who called himself Master Zhang stood up, circled around me, and clicked his tongue in amazement. Demon, you are enveloped by an extremely powerful aura of resentment and malevolence. You are no longer an ordinary being. He pulled a yellow talisman from his chest and swiftly pressed it toward my forehead. Today, I shall uphold the will of heaven and vanquish you, this demon. Just as the talisman was a few centimeters away from my forehead, it suddenly burst into flames and instantly turned to ashes. Master Zhang let out a sharp cry of pain, clutching his hand as he stumbled backward, his fingers already charred black. Impossible. My three pure ones evil-suppressing talisman. How could it? He stared at me in terror, as if looking at some primordial beast. I looked at him with an expressionless face. Is that all you've got? In my mind, the system's voice rang out coldly. Detected external force attempting to attack the host. Initiating counterattack protocol. The attacker will suffer tenfold retaliation. As soon as the words were spoken, Master Zhang suddenly convulsed all over, foaming at the mouth, and fell straight down. Master, Su Zhenxiong and Chen Lan were scared out of their wits and hurried forward to help him up. Lin Weiwei was also so frightened that she took several steps back, her face paler than paper. I watched this farce coldly. I told you not to try to challenge its bottom line. It seems you didn't understand. I took out my phone, dialed the emergency number, and then looked at them. Next time, it won't be just him who falls. The ambulance came wailing and left wailing. In the living room, only the four of us remained. Su Zhenxiong and Chen Lan collapsed on the sofa, as if all their strength had been drained. Lin Weiwei looked at me with a complex expression, a mix of fear and envy. She envied me for possessing such immense power, yet feared the destruction it could bring. Why is it you? She murmured to herself. This system was supposed to be mine. I walked up to her and smiled. Yes. Why me? Perhaps even fate thinks that someone like you doesn't deserve it. Lin Weiwei, the life you stole from me, I will take it back, bit by bit, with my own hands, and then, I will shatter it completely. After the incident with the metaphysics master, they were completely subdued. The decline of the Su family was already beyond recovery. The company went bankrupt and was liquidated. The villa was seized by the bank, and all the luxury items were auctioned off. Our family of four moved from a luxurious mansion at the peak to a dark, damp, and old rental apartment of less than 60 square meters. The immense disparity nearly drove Su Zhenxiong and Chen Lan to the brink of mental collapse. They no longer hurled insults at me, as they lacked even the strength to curse. They simply sat there numbly, their eyes vacant, like two soulless puppets. Lin Weiwei also shed all her former glory. Without the designer clothes and flawless makeup, she looked haggard and disheveled, a far cry from the dazzling fake heiress I remembered. She was filled with resentment toward me. It's all your fault. You destroyed our family. She screamed at me more than once. I usually ignored her, because my plan is steadily advancing. I spent 1 billion to build a super shelter covering 1,000 acres for stray dog bases across the country, equipped with the best medical and living facilities. When the news broke, the internet was filled with praise. Host behavior detected, judged as charity. Deviating from the core of squandering, the system issued a warning, correction in progress. The next second, an unexpected deposit of 50 million suddenly appeared in my account, reportedly due to a sudden surge in the stock price of a worthless company I had casually invested in. I immediately donated the 50 million again. Warning, warning, host's behavior severely deviates from the core of squandering. The system's voice carried a hint of impatience for the first time. I paid no attention then. I used 2 billion to establish the country's first special foundation for rare diseases, bringing hope to families with nowhere to turn for medical help. This time, I made it directly onto national news. Countless people hailed me as a living bodhisattva and the most beautiful philanthropist. The system was practically going insane. Severe warning: the host is exploiting system rules to gain positive reputation. This behavior is defined as profiteering. The system will take mandatory measures. The so-called coercive measures involve constantly creating windfalls. For me, today, it's winning a lottery. Tomorrow, it's finding a wallet. The amounts are small, but they are extremely annoying. I accept them all without hesitation, and for every amount I receive, I immediately donate double. The system and I were locked in a bizarre tug-of-war. The more it tried to make me squander money, the more I spent it on the right things. I took the remaining billions and, in one anonymous package, donated it all to the National Aerospace Engineering Project. The moment I pressed the confirm button, 10 billion was gone, not a single cent left. Ding, 100 billion spent. Mission progress 100%. Main mission completion 99%. I looked at that 99% progress bar and smiled. I knew the final test was about to come, and my family, after experiencing the initial despair and numbness, finally welcomed what they believed to be a turning point. Life in the rental apartment was hell. Su Zhenxiong and Chen Lan were used to living a life of luxury, but now they had to worry about 3 meals a day. They couldn't cook, couldn't clean, and didn't even know how to order takeout. All the resentment was vented on me and Lin Weiwei. Useless, all of you are useless. What's the point of raising you? How could I have given birth to a debt collector like you? Lin Weiwei also became their punching bag. And you're not a daughter of the Su family. What right do you have to stay here, eating our food and using our things? Get out. Chen Lan knocked the instant noodles Lin Weiwei had just prepared to the ground. Lin Weiwei's tears instantly began to fall. She looked at me, her eyes filled with a plea for help. I turned a blind eye. It was a dog-eat-dog fight, with both sides ending up covered in fur. I'm enjoying the peace and quiet. They don't know that this dark, sunless life is about to come to an end. There are only 3 days left until the 1-month task deadline. The 10 billion has already been spent. That night, as I was resting with my eyes closed, the system's voice finally rang out again. Main quest completed. Final quest released. Quest name: Sacrifice of Blood Kin. Quest requirement: obtain a willing sacrifice from a blood relative to receive the final reward, eternal life. Hint: the one who offers the sacrifice may also receive partial rewards. Here it comes. I slowly opened my eyes. In the living room, the 3 people who had been lifeless just moments ago instantly changed their expressions. Their eyes lit up once more, a light filled with greed, longing, and calculation. Immortality, what a tempting word. They thought my time had come. They also thought their opportunity had arrived. Sacrifice. Su Zhenxiong was the first to react, looking at me with a burning gaze. What does that mean? Does it require one of us to die? The system's cold prompt sounded only in my mind, but I knew they had somehow grasped the content of the task as well. Lin Weiwei's eyes were frighteningly bright. Sister, what is the reward the system mentioned? I looked at their ugly faces and suddenly found it quite amusing. The reward is eternal life. With a boom, these 3 words exploded like a bomb in their minds. Immortality, to live forever, never aging. Their breathing instantly became heavy. The next second, a performance I had long anticipated, utterly disgusting, began. The first one to rush up was my mother, Chen Lan. She threw herself at my feet, hugging my legs, and wailed loudly, "Nian Nian, my good daughter, it was Mom's fault. I was blinded by greed before, fooled by that little bitch Lin Weiwei." As she spoke, she glared fiercely at Lin Weiwei. "You are my own flesh and blood. How could I bear to let you die? Let me go instead. Let me make the sacrifice for you. You must live on, carrying my share, and live forever." She wept bitterly, as if she were truly a loving mother who had suddenly seen the light. If I didn't clearly remember how she cursed me, this worthless burden, for dying well after my death in my past life, I might have actually believed her. Su Zhenxiong followed closely behind. He changed from his usual irritable self, his face filled with a benevolent smile, and even reached out to pat my head, but I dodged it by turning away. He didn't feel awkward either and spoke with a heavy heart. "Nian Nian, Dad is sorry. Dad is a scoundrel, not a good father. As the man of this family, sacrifices like this should be made by me. You are still young, with a long road ahead. Let your father pave this final stretch for you." He spoke with righteous fervor, even squeezing out a few murky tears from the corners of his eyes, yet I could clearly see the barely contained ecstasy and greed deep within his gaze. The most remarkable part, however, was Lin Weiwei. She thumped to her knees, kneeling directly before me. "Sister, I'm sorry. It's all my fault." She slapped herself hard on both cheeks, her face instantly turning red and swollen. "I shouldn't have been jealous of you, shouldn't have stolen your life. I deserve to die 1,000 deaths. Sister, let me die. Only by dying can I cleanse my sins. Please, let me offer myself as a sacrifice. It's the only thing I can do for you." She cried so hard she could barely catch her breath, her forehead thumping against the cold floor with a dull, rhythmic thud. What a touching scene of motherly love, filial piety, and sisterly devotion. They were all vying to be the one to die for me. Everyone speaks with such sincerity, as if they are the greatest and most selfless person, yet the calculation in their eyes is impossible to hide. Tip: the sacrificer can also receive partial rewards. That's exactly what they're betting on. They bet that as long as they willingly sacrifice themselves for me, the system would transfer the reward of eternal life to them. After all, once I die, they would be the biggest beneficiaries. They might even think that this sacrifice is just a saying, a formality, and that no one would actually die. I looked at the 3 of them as if they were clowns performing their hearts out on stage. I smiled, laughed from the heart. "Great," I said, "since all of you are so eager to sacrifice yourselves for me, then I'll grant your wish." My words left all 3 of them stunned. The expressions on their faces instantly froze. They seemed not to have expected that I would agree so easily. "Then, who should we choose?" Su Zhenxiong rubbed his hands together, asking eagerly, afraid that I might change my mind. "Chen Lan Immediately screamed, "Of course it's me, I'm her biological mother." Lin Weiwei also refused to be outdone. "My sister loves me the most, she'll definitely choose me." They started arguing again, fighting over a spot to die. I watched them and shook my head. "Stop arguing, I haven't made up my mind yet. After all, there's only one spot, isn't there?" My casual remark instantly silenced them. "That's right, there's only one spot. Whoever can seize it will gain eternal life from this moment on." The way they looked at each other changed, no longer family, but competitors, enemies. Over the next 2 days, I witnessed the ugliest side of human nature. To please me, to make me choose them, they would stop at nothing. Chen, my mother, who had never lifted a finger in the kitchen, began learning to cook for me. Although what she made was barely edible, she still brought it to me, saying in an almost fawning tone, "Nian Nian, try your mother's cooking, this is the first time I've ever cooked." Su Zhenxiong, my domineering father, began learning to massage my back and shoulders for me. His clumsy strength made me uncomfortable all over, but he persisted, sweating profusely. "Nian Nian, is Dad's strength okay? If you're tired, just tell me." Lin Weiwei even lowered her stance to the lowest. She took on all the household chores, washing clothes, mopping the floor, and keeping the small rental apartment spotless. She would even kneel on the ground, using a towel to carefully wipe the mud stains from my shoes. "Sister, are you thirsty? Let me pour you some water." "Sister, are you hungry? I'll go buy you some late-night snacks." They were like 3 dogs wagging their tails, circling around me. They are wary of each other, constantly tripping each other up. Chen Lan would spit in Su Zhenxiong's food. Su Zhenxiong would deliberately spill water on the floor Lin Weiwei had just mopped. Lin Weiwei would secretly hide the fruit Chen Lan bought for me. This small rented room has turned into a battlefield without smoke or fire, and I am the king high above, watching coldly as they fight to the death for my favor. I am savoring these final moments, savoring this last bit of entertainment they bring me until the final day of the mission deadline. On the last day, they were nearly driven mad, because I had yet to make a choice. "Sun Yan, who are you going to choose?" "Exactly." Su Zhenxiong could no longer keep up the act. He grabbed my shoulders, his face twisted with rage. Chen Lan also tore off her disguise, screaming, "Are you playing with us? You never intended to let us live." Lin Weiwei slumped to the ground, her eyes filled with venom as she glared at me, cursing incessantly. I watched them revert to their true selves and smiled with satisfaction. "Don't rush, today, we will have the outcome." I took out my phone and dialed a number. "Hello, is this Lawyer Wang from the notary office?" "Yes, it's me, Sun Yan. I'm ready, please come over now. The address is..." After hanging up the phone, I looked at their 3 faces, filled with shock and uncertainty. "Making a will?" Su Zhenxiong frowned. "What inheritance do you have to leave? Didn't you spend all your money?" "Yes," I nodded. "The money is all gone, but I still have some future assets that need to be arranged in advance." They couldn't understand. Half an hour later, Lawyer Wang arrived at our shabby rental house with his assistant and equipment. He was clearly shocked by the environment here, but his professionalism kept him composed. "Miss Su, we can begin." I nodded, and in front of the 3 of them, I spoke clearly and deliberately into the camera. "I, Sun Yan, hereby make the following will today. I voluntarily donate all my assets, including but not limited to bank deposits, securities, real estate, and any future proceeds of any form from all agreements I have signed, to the state free of charge upon my death." The designated recipient is the National Science and Space Foundation. This will become effective immediately upon recording, and no one has the right to alter it. After saying this, I signed my name and pressed my fingerprint. After confirming everything was correct, Lawyer Wang collected the documents and nodded to me. "Miss Su, your will is now legally binding. We will keep it safe." After seeing the lawyer off, I turned back to look at the 3 people in the living room. Their faces were filled with confusion and bewilderment. "Future earnings? What earnings?" Chen Lan muttered to herself. "Just trying to be mysterious." Su Zhenxiong snorted coldly. "You're about to die, and you're still playing these tricks." Lin Weiwei's eyes flickered, as if she had sensed something, but she couldn't quite figure it out. She stared at me intently. "Sun Yan, what exactly are you scheming?" I didn't answer her. I simply walked to the window and pushed open the old, worn-out pane. Downstairs, the street is bustling with traffic. This is the 20th floor, aren't you all eager to sacrifice yourselves for me? I turned around, looked at them, and smiled. No need to argue, this opportunity, I'm giving it to no one, because I'll take it myself. At the moment I turned and leaped out the window, I saw their three faces, frozen in utter terror. They wanted to rush over, but it was already too late. My body plummeted rapidly through the air, the wind howled past my ears. So this is what death feels like, very calm. In my mind, the system's voice lost its eternal, unchanging coldness for the first time. It was screaming, a genuine, emotional, panic-filled scream. Bug, detected host actively engaging in self-destruction. Warning, warning, final cashback protocol has been triggered. Protocol cannot be terminated. Protocol cannot be terminated. I closed my eyes, feeling the last moments of my life slip away. All the events of my past life flashed before my eyes. The pain of being pushed down the stairs, the indifference of my parents, Lin Weiwei's smugness, desperation in the mental hospital. And finally, the three of them, a happy family, watched the news report about my accidental death. Wonderful, in this life, I can finally drag them all down to hell with my own hands. In the rental apartment, Su Zhenxiong, Chen Lan, and Lin Weiwei rushed to the window. They did not witness the gruesome sight of Sun Yan falling to his death. Instead, they saw that as Sun Yan's body plummeted halfway down, a blinding golden light suddenly erupted from him. The radiance was even more dazzling than the sun. Immediately before their eyes, a massive virtual screen composed of golden numbers appeared. The numbers on the screen were scrolling upward at a terrifying, frenzied pace. 100 billion, 500 billion, 100 billion, 500 billion, 1 trillion. The number finally settled at an astronomical figure they could never have imagined in their lifetime. At the bottom of the screen, there was a line of small text. Final cashback agreement has been executed. All funds have been transferred to the designated beneficiary account, National Science and Space Foundation. Their minds went completely blank. The money, that money, Su Zhenxiong muttered to himself. The money she spent has all come back, and multiplied tenfold, no, 100-fold. Chen Lan's voice was so sharp it seemed to pierce the eardrums. Lin Weiwei finally understood. She finally understood Sun Yan's plan. From the very beginning, Sun Yan never intended to seek immortality. She exploited a bug in the system. She used her own life to deceive the system into granting the ultimate reward, and then donated this world-shaking fortune to the country, and they got nothing. At that very moment, a cold, emotionless voice echoed simultaneously in the minds of all three of them. Final mission, the sacrifice of blood relatives. The host has completed self-sacrifice. Mission failed. Punishment initiated. Erase all blood relatives. Lin Weiwei screamed in terror. No, I was switched at birth. I have no blood relation to her. I'm not her blood relative. She screamed hysterically. However, the system's judgment was cold and merciless. After testing, Lin Weiwei and the host Sun Yan have a legal and social ethical kinship relationship, falling within the scope of the blood relative penalty. No, amidst Lin Weiwei's desperate scream, her body began to dissolve into golden dust from the feet up, scattering with the wind. She watched helplessly as her legs, waist, chest, arms, all turned to ashes. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Su Zhenxiong and Chen Lan also met the same fate. They watched in horror as their bodies disintegrated, letting out their final, unwilling roars of life. Ungrateful daughter, I won't let you go even as a ghost. Unfortunately, they didn't even get the chance to become ghosts. In just over 10 seconds, the three of them completely turned to dust, wiped clean from this world, as if they had never existed. My final consciousness lingered in the systems. Furious scream, bug, critical bug, cashback agreement maliciously exploited, system, core, crash, ing, I smiled, eternal life, who cares, all I want is to watch you turn to dust before my eyes. Let's go to hell together. My dear family, after hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. The newly appointed village official came to register the 3 individuals, and the first stop was my house. She looked at the photo of my husband on the wall. Grandma G, is it because you admire Chief Fu that you never married or had children in your entire life? I felt as if struck by lightning, my aged voice filled with disbelief. We've been married for 50 years, and we even have grandchildren. How could that be? The young girl glanced at the household register in her hand and muttered, "That's correct. You are a recipient of the 5 guarantees, and you have no husband or children." That day, I took the long-damaged marriage certificate to the Civil Affairs Bureau. "This marriage certificate is fake. The records show you are unmarried and have never registered a marriage." I was stunned. "That's impossible. My husband, Fu Yunzhou, and I have been married for 50 years. He pulled up the file again. "Fu Yunzhou is married, but his wife's name is He Qing. He Qing is Fu Yunzhou's widowed sister-in-law, serving as a military doctor and accompanying the army year-round." Trembling, I went back to confront him. And Fu Yunzhou confessed without hesitation, "Isn't it enough that I've never mistreated you in this lifetime? He Qing is my true love. I only want to marry her and have children. My son also advised me to spare your feelings. My parents have kept it a secret their whole lives. You're getting on in years now. What more could you possibly want?" It was only then that I realized the child I had raised with my own hands was not my biological son. Back then, He Qing and I gave birth at the same time. To ensure that He Qing's child could be raised by someone more educated like me, he swapped my child with He Qing's, and my own biological child had been drowned in the pond by Fu Yunzhou the moment he was born. The funny thing is, I actually treated He Qing's child as my own, sending him all the way to Tsinghua University. Overwhelmed with rage, I fainted. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I gave birth after 10 months of pregnancy. A familiar pain washed over me. I opened my eyes, and the blinding fluorescent light above glared down. "Meow meow, look at our son, how adorable he is." My husband, Fu Yunzhou, stood by the hospital bed holding a baby, beaming with joy. I glanced around the room, then looked at Fu Yunzhou's youthful face, realizing that I had actually been reborn. This day, the day I gave birth, was also the day my own child was killed by that beast, Fu Yunzhou. At this thought, I was immediately overwhelmed with anxiety. Ignoring the pain from just having given birth, I reached out to him. "Quick, give me the child." Fu Yunzhou, without any suspicion, handed the baby to me. I immediately lifted the swaddling clothes, pulled down the baby's pants, and sure enough, there was a round, bluish birthmark on the buttocks. For a moment, my blood surged with anger. This was the ungrateful wretch I had raised my whole life in my previous life, the illegitimate child of Fu Yunzhou and He Qing. Fu Yunzhou still thought he could deceive me, smiling at me calmly as he said, "They say a birthmark on the buttocks brings good fortune. Our son will surely live a life of abundance and achieve great success in the future." I couldn't help but sneer coldly. Of course, with a fool like me to support them for a lifetime, I poured my heart and soul into it, providing them with food and clothing. I sent him to Tsinghua University, and he told me not to mind the affair between my husband and his widowed sister-in-law. Thinking of this, I wish I could tear this family of 3 into pieces, but the urgent task now is to find my son. Suppressing my emotions, I asked Fu Yunzhou, "How is sister He doing? What about her child?" An unnatural expression flashed across Fu Yunzhou's face. "She's doing well too, and she gave birth to a son. You take care of the child. I'll go check on her." After saying that, he got up and hurriedly left. I watched coldly, called a nurse over, and whispered a few words. A few minutes later, I carried the child to He Qing's ward. Both she and Fu Yunzhou had been called away by the nurse. Meanwhile, my son was carelessly left on the bed, his breathing faint. I didn't delay and immediately swapped the child back. Looking at the tiny bundle in my arms, I couldn't help but feel my eyes well up with tears. Even though it was our first meeting, I could clearly sense that this was my own biological son. In my previous life, Fu Yunzhou left under the pretense of heading to his station, taking He Qing along as a military doctor. The two of them are living happily thousands of miles away, asking me for money when they run out, and coming back to see the child when they miss them. Meanwhile, I was completely deceived, holding a fake marriage certificate and raising the child of this despicable couple, mistaking the enemy for my own son, toiling away my entire life, yet they enjoy the fruits of my labor, effortlessly gaining a top-scoring son who got into Tsinghua University. This time, I will make sure they are utterly disgraced and reap what they have sown. Not long after returning to the ward, Fu Yunzhou and He Qing both came in. As soon as He Qing entered the room, her eyes were glued to my son, and she beamed with joy. "Oh my, this child looks so adorable, fair and chubby, and seemed so clever. Seeing the cotton cloth I had wrapped around the baby, she quickly added, "Why are you dressing him in cotton? It might chafe the baby's skin. Hurry and use these silk fabrics instead." She took out a bundle of clothes, all made of fine, brand new materials. She eagerly moved closer, trying to take the child from my arms. I dodged her, my tone cold. "My child, I will take care of him myself." Ching didn't get to hold the child and was slightly annoyed, but then she forced a smile. Yes, you're a college student, so you're definitely capable of teaching the child well and making him successful." Ching looked at my son with delight. Her eyes filled with motherly love. Fu Yunzhou spoke up at the right moment, "Meow meow. Now that the child is born, we need to decide on a name. How about calling him Fu Xijin?" Before the birth, Fu Yunzhou had prepared several names for me to choose from, and he particularly favored the name Fu Xijin. It was only later that I found out all those names were ones he and Ching had thought of in advance. Even the one he liked was because Ching liked it. I immediately refused and chose a name he hadn't mentioned. "No, our son will be called Fu Qilua." Fu Yunzhou's expression changed slightly. "Didn't we agree to use the name I gave you? Xijin sounds so nice," I sneered, pretending to hand the son over. "Then you raise him." He still wanted me to wholeheartedly raise the child, so he immediately shut up. Ching was somewhat displeased, her tone strange. "Sister-in-law personally named the child, so you must take good care of them in the future. I look forward to seeing him bring honor to the family and rise above others." I said calmly, "No need for sister-in-law to worry. You should focus more on taking care of your own child." Mentioning her child, Ching pursed her lips again, unable to hide her disdain. "He's just a little troublemaker, not likable at all, and a pain to look at." "Exactly. He wasn't even a day old when we found him breathless just now." What bad luck. I felt a chill run through my body, and my palms broke out in a cold sweat. Just a little later, and I wouldn't have been able to save my own child. When Fu Yunzhou and Ching mentioned that dead child, their faces were cold and indifferent, showing no concern at all. I couldn't help but ask, "Did it really die young?" A flicker of disdain flashed in Fu Yunzhou's eyes as he said with certainty, "Of course, newborns are very fragile. That fatherless bastard died, and that's that." "Meow meow, you must take even better care of our son. He is the only hope for this family." Ching not only didn't refute Fu Yunzhou's words but also didn't mind at all, only staring at my son. "Exactly, how can that brat compare to Yunzhou's son? It's just as well that he's dead." I lowered my eyes, hiding my sarcasm. I used to think that Ching was just overly grief-stricken from losing her husband and son, pouring all her love into my son. Now that I know the truth, I suddenly understand the reason for their strange behavior. I suppressed my disgust and dismissed them with a few hasty words. I went to the morgue again, and sure enough, Ching's son was there. I looked closely and confirmed that this was indeed the one they had personally drowned. On the way back to the ward, I deliberately took a less crowded path, only to run into Fu Yunzhou and Ching. They were entangled together, kissing passionately in the corner. Ching was panting softly, clinging to Fu Yunzhou, breathless. "Yunzhou, we finally dealt with that troublemaker today. After all, he's your son. You're not heartbroken, are you?" Fu Yunzhou, with tenderness in his eyes, replied without hesitation, "How could I be? I only acknowledge the children you gave birth to. The one Ji Miao bore is nothing but a beast, but she still has some use. No matter how clever she is, she still has to obediently raise our child for us, and once we get to the base, no one will disturb us. Haven't you been looking forward to this for a long time?" Ching blushed and playfully hit his chest, saying, "You're so annoying, you rascal." I felt sick to my stomach listening to them, while they were still wrapped up in each other. I picked up a brick, threw it at them with all my might, and then took off running. The two behind me were badly startled, but they didn't dare to make a scene. They nervously looked around in a panic, had already returned to the front hall, borrowed a landline from a nurse, and immediately called my supervisor to request a transfer. I was a first-year college student after the college entrance exam, and after graduation, I married Fu Yunzhou, losing many opportunities for him even when my supervisor suggested I develop my career in the north. I refused because I was pregnant, but now, I won't be controlled by them anymore. Even with a child, I will leave this place. After being discharged from the hospital and returning home, The first thing I did was dig out the marriage certificate. Fu Yunzhou was the regiment leader. He somehow managed to forge this marriage certificate that looked so real, while he and He Qing secretly went to the civil affairs office to get a real one. It's laughable that I held on to this fake certificate. Treasuring it like a precious treasure for 50 years, I tore the certificate into 2 halves with all my might. That's just as well. In a month when I leave, I won't have to worry about how to get a divorce. Both He Qing and I were in confinement. She lay in bed every day, having clothes handed to her and food brought to her mouth, with Fu Yunzhou feeding her everything. Sometimes, when things went too far and I was afraid of being exposed, I would make up for it. My sister-in-law's child died young, and she's heartbroken and exhausted. I'm her only support now. I remained silent, as if he couldn't see me taking care of the child every day, doing everything myself, without ever asking if I was tired. Every night when the child cried, Fu Yunzhou would get up irritably, say he was going to sleep in another room, and then head straight into He Qing's room. The next day, He Qing would cover her mouth with a smile and ask me in surprise, "Sister-in-law, you must be exhausted, look at those dark circles. Did you not sleep at all last night?" She gloated with schadenfreude, not knowing that I also turned around and smiled. To prepare for my departure, I secretly packed my things little by little. Fu Yunzhou didn't pay attention and didn't notice at all, until that evening. He came in with an envelope, his face grim. "Meow meow, what is this?" The envelope was printed with large characters, clearly a transfer order from the leadership. Without changing my expression, I took it and casually tossed it into the fire pit. "You know, the leadership has tried to transfer me more than once, but I have children. How could I possibly leave you all? It's just a notice. I've already refused it." I know all too well what Fu Yunzhou likes to hear, and the now useless notification was casually ignited. He believed it immediately, his expression relaxing. "That's good. Once a woman is married, she should stay at home and take care of the children. With all your skills, you can teach our son well." Just in time. The child is almost a month old. I plan to host a banquet to celebrate. He is the only heir of our Fu family. I smiled and agreed, more than happy to oblige. The more people who came, the better, the livelier, the merrier. Time flew by, and on the day of the full moon celebration, Fu Yunzhou indeed went all out. He booked the entire state-run restaurant, invited various leaders and comrades, and of course, there was no shortage of relatives and friends. Fu Yunzhou couldn't stop smiling, dressed to the nines as he invited the guests inside. He Qing stood beside him in a Western-style dress, the two of them looking even more like a perfect match. As the atmosphere reached its peak, he raised his glass in a toast and said to me with deep affection, "Meow meow, thank you for giving me a son, but as a soldier, my duty calls. I will soon be heading to my post, and from now on, I entrust our child to you. I believe you will raise him to become a great person." He Qing also smiled brightly. "I'm a military doctor, so I have to leave with Yunzhou. Don't worry, sister-in-law, I'll take good care of him. You just stay home and focus on raising the children." Everyone around praised their selflessness, sacrificing their small family for the greater good of the nation. I couldn't help but clench my fists. Fu Yunzhou seemed to have forgotten the face he made when he urged me to give up my career to take care of the family. They were full of reluctance and genuine affection for the children, and their leader was even more pleased. "Even comrade, he treats this child as his own, which shows how harmonious your family is. Yunzhou, I have full confidence in the organization entrusting this task to you." Fu Yunzhou was so pleased with the recognition that he could hardly contain his smile. The relative held the child, playing with them, and after carefully looking at the child's smiling face, turned to me and said with a smile, "Meow meow, this child really takes after you. He's sure to grow up to be a handsome young man." He Qing, overhearing from the side, shot her an angry glare, picked up the child, and was about to leave. "A boy is bound to resemble his father. He's clearly the spitting image of Yunzhou." The relative glanced at me somewhat awkwardly, and I simply smiled without saying a word. He Qing held the child, genuinely wanting to spend more time with her son before parting ways, but she had only held him for a few minutes when the child suddenly burst into loud cries, his face turned toward hers. Immediately after, He Qing let out a startled cry as the swaddling cloth became damp. A relative quickly took the child and said warmly, "Oh, he's wet himself, let me help change the diaper." He Qing had affection for the child but was even more unwilling to take responsibility. Otherwise, she wouldn't have left the upbringing to me. She immediately pushed the child away in disgust and watched the relative change the diaper. But the moment the clothes were removed, her face turned deathly pale. And she let out a sharp scream. Fu Yunzhou walked over and asked, "What's wrong? What's all the noise about?" He Qing just stared fixedly at the child, her voice trembling. Why doesn't he have a birthmark on his body?" Before anyone else could grasp the meaning of He Qing's words, Fu Yunzhou's face had already turned pale. He immediately snatched the child to examine him. Throughout the entire month, they had never taken care of the child. This was the first time they had seen the skin. Beneath the clothes, they kept turning him over and over for inspection, making the child so uncomfortable that he immediately wrinkled his nose and started crying. I seized the opportunity to step forward, anxiously scolding them. "What are you doing? Give my son back to me right now." He Qing stood frozen in place, turned her head at the sound, and then screamed as she lunged forward. "Ji Miao, is it you? It must be you playing tricks. Where is my son?" I pushed her away with one hand, snatched the child back into my arms, and said coldly, "Sister-in-law, what are you talking about? I don't understand. This is my son. Didn't your son die right after he was born?" He Qing's entire face twisted into a ferocious expression as she lunged at me, claws bared. "No, that's not right. You swapped my child. Give me back my son." She was incoherent, her face unable to conceal her panic and fury. As if she were about to lash out at any moment, I looked straight at her, slowly curling a smile. "This is my son, Fu Qilua. How could he be your son? As for the birthmark, isn't it from your own son who died young?" "My son naturally doesn't have one." I sighed and took out a stack of photos. "I even went so far as to ask the hospital to take posthumous photos of your child. I even paid the burial fees for you when you refused to cover them. I know you're grieving the loss of your son, but you can't seriously treat my son as your own, can you?" In the black and white photo, it was their own drowned son, with a birthmark on his body that was extremely noticeable. He Qing was completely unwilling to face the truth that her own son had been drowned by her, trembling all over and screaming like a madwoman. "This can't be. It should be your son who died." At this moment, everyone also came to their senses, looking at each other and asking questions one after another. "Battalion Commander Fu, what does this mean? Didn't Sister He's son pass away a month ago? If your son is healthy and well, how could he have passed away?" Everyone knew that He Qing's son had passed away. I was holding my own son, and no one understood why she was acting so crazy. The scene was chaotic and noisy. Fu Yunzhou's face turned pale, but he couldn't find the words to explain his predicament. He Qing still wanted to say something. "The one who died young wasn't." Fu Yunzhou's expression changed slightly, and he quickly went to cover her mouth. He instinctively turned to look at the leader, then scolded in a low voice, "What nonsense are you talking? Have you lost your mind?" He Qing desperately pounded on him, her eyes red as she screamed, "Fu Yunzhou, you heartless man, did you and this bitch conspire together long ago to deceive me?" Fu Yunzhou's face darkened as he restrained He Qing, urging her urgently, "Enough, calm down." "How can I calm down? You clearly said it was Ji Miao's son who drowned, that my son was being well taken care of by her. Give me back my son's life." As soon as these words were spoken, there was another collective gasp, followed by hushed whispers and murmurs. "What does that mean? They wanted to drown Ji Miao's son, but ended up killing their own child instead. But didn't Ji Miao take care of the child for a whole month? And He Qing also said her own son died young. What's going on here? I never would have guessed that Fu Yunzhou could be so ruthless toward a child. How cruel!" One after another, scornful and contemptuous voices fell upon Fu Yunzhou and He Qing, berating them mercilessly. I stood at the back, watching the scene coldly, feeling utterly delighted inside. What was supposed to be a joyous full moon banquet had turned into this mess, leaving everyone stunned by the series of unexpected events. The leaders seated at the head table grew increasingly grim-faced, demanding answers sternly. "Fu Yunzhou, what on earth is going on? You need to give me a clear explanation." On one side was the hysterical and crying He Qing, and on the other were the higher-ups, both waiting for an answer. Fu Yunzhou's face was pale, and cold sweat beaded on his forehead. He looked around in a panic until he spotted me. holding the child and standing on the outskirts of the crowd. He immediately pointed at me and shouted, "I don't know anything. It's Ji Miao. This is all her scheme. She told me the child had drowned. My sister-in-law, feeling sorry for her, gave her own son to her to raise. Who would have thought that Ji Miao, that venomous woman, swapped the children in advance, causing my nephew's death? We were all kept in the dark, completely fooled by her." With just a few words, he cleared himself of any responsibility and shifted all the blame onto me. Someone was being led by the nose and asked in confusion, "Is that so?" Fu Yunzhou said firmly, "That's exactly it. How could I harm my own dear son? It's all a misunderstanding. Ji Miao is not right in the head. Don't believe her." Watching his righteous and solemn demeanor, I sneered coldly, "Fu Yunzhou, don't deceive yourself while trying to deceive others. You were the one who switched the children, and you were the one who wanted to drown him. How dare you twist the truth?" He furrowed his brows tightly and blurted out, "You clearly saw the birthmark on the child the day he was born. It must have been you who switched him later. It has nothing to do with me." I tugged at the corner of my mouth. "Oh, so you knew that child had a birthmark. Why was he in my hospital room? Wasn't it you who switched them first?" He was left speechless, and I raised my voice again. "If I hadn't noticed in time and switched the babies back, it would have been my son who died." The more I spoke, the angrier I became, and I raised my hand and slapped Fu Yunzhou hard. "Scheming against your own son. Are you even human?" I lifted my head, and tears came as soon as I spoke. "Dear relatives, at first, I thought it was just a simple mistake, that they had accidentally switched the babies. But I never expected that Fu Yunzhou, that beast, would collude with Yi Qing and actually try to kill my son. By a stroke of luck, I narrowly escaped, and now I'm being falsely accused." Fu Yunzhou was frantic, his eyes practically wanting to kill me. "Slander, this is slander. Ji Miao, stop spouting nonsense here. You have no evidence." Yi Qing also glared at me venomously, saying with hatred, "Stop being so sanctimonious. My son is dead, while yours is perfectly fine. Doesn't that explain everything, you murderer?" But their words kept changing, sounding forced and unconvincing. No matter how much they wailed and cried, no one was easily swayed. My eyes were even redder as I said coldly, "Heaven sees what people do. Do you really think you're foolproof? It's precisely because heaven has eyes that you didn't succeed." Fu Yunzhou was about to say something else, but the leader cut him off directly, his tone stern. "Enough, Fu Yunzhou, you have truly disappointed me. Your lies are full of holes. Do you think we're all fools?" Fu Yunzhou looked agitated. "This really has nothing to do with me. Please listen to my explanation, sir." However, the leader simply announced with a stern expression, "Take this time to reflect properly. There's no need for you to go to the station either. As for what crimes you have committed, I will have someone investigate them thoroughly." At this point, Fu Yunzhou's face completely lost its color, and he collapsed to the ground, his lips trembling. After saying this, the leader sighed and spoke to me sincerely, "Comrade Ji, I failed to conduct a thorough inspection and did not discover the issues with Fu Yunzhou's lifestyle and conduct, but this is ultimately your family matter, and you need to make the decision yourself. I shouldn't interfere too much." I understood the hint in the leader's tone and decisively spoke up, "Thank you for your concern, but this won't happen again. I'll be leaving here soon, as I'm being transferred to Beijing for work." Fu Yunzhou didn't dare to act recklessly in front of the leader, but he had no problem raising his voice at me. He looked over with a gloomy expression, his tone full of threat. "Impossible. Do you even know what you're saying? You clearly burned the transfer order that was delivered that day. Ji Miao, you'd better think carefully before you speak. Where could you possibly go without me?" I glanced at him indifferently, revealing a smug and mocking smile. "That's just a notification receipt. The moment it was sent out, it meant my job transfer order was already processed." He met my gaze, which held a hint of mockery, and shouted angrily, "Ji Miao, we are husband and wife. If I don't allow you to leave, you will never be able to go. I am your husband. Think carefully. Do you really want to turn against me?" I just smiled, not letting him know how long I had been waiting for this moment. I took out the marriage certificate, torn in half, and threw it in front of him. Fu Yunzhou's face twisted for a moment, but he still pretended to be composed and said, Why did you tear up the marriage certificate? Do you think that even if you tear it into pieces, it will change our relationship? I clapped my hands. Well said, even if I tear it to shreds, we are not husband and wife. Fu Yunzhou's hesitant expression froze, and he looked at me in disbelief, forcing himself to stay calm. What nonsense are you talking about? We are legally married and have a marriage certificate, but I laughed and interrupted him. All right, you're not tired of pretending, but I'm tired of listening. Fu Yunzhou, the reason I haven't completely destroyed this marriage certificate is to ask you, what method did you use to forge such a realistic marriage certificate? As soon as the words were spoken, not only Fu Yunzhou, but everyone present changed their expressions, all gasping in shock. A fake marriage certificate. How many years have they been married? How could this certificate be fake? It's unbelievable. I can't tell it all, I said calmly. If you don't believe me, feel free to take it for inspection. No matter how realistic a fake certificate is, you can tell the difference once you've seen the real one. Just as someone was about to pick up the marriage certificate, Fu Yunzhou suddenly lunged forward to stop them, shouting at the person, "Get away." At this point, anyone could see that something was fishy. The leader immediately called the guard to collect the marriage certificate for inspection. Sure enough, it didn't take long to confirm that it was fake. The crowd erupted in an uproar, and their gazes toward Fu Yunzhou turned strange. A fake marriage certificate. Who knows what his intentions are? How shameless. Could it be a marriage scam? That's just disgusting. Fu Yunzhou listened to the voices of the people around him, his face growing even more terrifyingly dark. Seizing the moment, I dropped another bombshell. Fu Yunzhou, if you want to break up, just say it. Why make me wash your clothes and cook for you while you secretly get married and have a child with your widowed sister-in-law? He looked up in shock, his voice trembling slightly. How much do you actually know? I just looked at him coldly. Someone else asked me, Comrade G, could there be a misunderstanding in this? This kind of thing is just too much. I curled the corner of my mouth. Too much. He Qing's son is actually Fu Yunzhou's child. As soon as the eldest brother died, they got their marriage certificate. Fu Yunzhou used a fake certificate to deceive me, all so he could be with He Qing. If you don't believe me, you can go to my house. Their marriage certificate is still in He Qing's room. Just check and you'll know. Actually, there was no need to check. He Qing had practically confessed already. She grabbed Fu Yunzhou's arm and shook it desperately. Fu Yunzhou, are you even a man? How can you just stand by and let them bully me like this? Fu Yunzhou was utterly annoyed by her pestering, and a hint of impatience showed on his face. Enough. Is this really the time to talk about this? He was completely overwhelmed and couldn't even be bothered to humor He Qing. Fu Yunzhou looked at me anxiously, his tone unprecedentedly gentle. Meow meow, what happened before was truly a misunderstanding. I didn't think it through properly and ended up hurting you. From now on, I will treat you well. Could you give me a chance to turn over a new leaf? I remained unmoved, my tone distant. I have nothing to discuss with you. Step aside. Fu Yunzhou eagerly tried to grab my hand. Don't forget we still have a son. How are you going to take care of him alone? I can't bear to see you struggle so much. Meow meow. As long as you stay at home, you won't have to worry about food or drink, and you'll even have money to spend without having to work. Isn't that kind of life good? Don't go. I will definitely prove my sincerity to you. He desperately poured out his heart, speaking with genuine emotion. He Qing, who was cowering to the side, couldn't hold back any longer and spoke with sharp sarcasm. Fu Yunzhou, what do you mean? Now that our relationship has been exposed, everyone knows we are the real couple. Why are you still keeping Ji Miao around? Some people really have clever tricks, using just a few words to captivate a man's soul, making him believe whatever they say. Who knows how many times this trick has been used? I hadn't even spoken yet when Fu Yunzhou turned his head first, staring coldly at He Qing. Shut your mouth. Meow meow is my lawfully wedded wife. If it weren't for you seducing me back then, how could I have been so foolish as to get a marriage certificate with you? I could have been husband and wife with Ji Miao. It's all because of you meddling and getting in our way. He Qing's face was filled with disbelief, looking as if she might collapse at any moment. You bastard. Fu Yunzhou, your elder brother isn't even dead yet, and you've already tricked me into bed and made me pregnant to bear you a son. You promised to spend your whole life with me, that we could call each other husband and wife once we reached the station. How could you go back on your word? She lunged at him, clawing and scratching desperately. The two of them wrestled together, and He Qing's words grew increasingly unsavory. The surrounding guests listened in stunned silence, then joined in denouncing Fu Yunzhou as a heartless scoundrel. Fu Yunzhou barely managed to shake off He Qing, his face bruised and swollen, yet he still remembered to show his loyalty to me. Meow meow, I will definitely make it up to you. I'll divorce He Qing and marry you today. Okay, from now on, it will only be the two of us in this family. You are my only wife. I couldn't help but sneer, pushing away his outstretched hand. I don't care who you marry, but it will never be me, Fu Yunzhou. Without you, I would only live better than I do now. You are the one holding me back. His face turned deathly pale, his lips trembling as if only now did he feel some genuine remorse. No, it's not like that. Listen to me. I really want to make it up to you. The child is fine anyway. Aren't you just angry about the marriage certificate? I promise we'll get a real one, okay? We've come this far all these years, and now that we have a child, how can you leave me? Yet all I felt was disgust, having seen enough of his pretentious acts. I would never believe another word from Fu Yunzhou. At that moment, a group of uniformed officers rushed into the room, led by a man wearing a political commissar badge on his chest. We have received a report that Fu Yunzhou, the regimental commander, is suspected of abusing his power for personal gain and harming the interests of other comrades. Please cooperate with the investigation. Everyone present was taken aback, watching Fu Yunzhou being taken into custody. Fu Yunzhou was also bewildered, caught off guard by the sudden arrest. He struggled desperately, protesting. I haven't done anything like this. You must have made a mistake. Someone must have maliciously reported me. However, the political commissar said, we wouldn't take action without substantial evidence. Meanwhile, He Qing, who was hiding to the side, was also caught. Her face was filled with panic as she struggled, saying, what are you doing? I'm just an ordinary citizen. Why are you arresting me? Seeing this, Fu Yunzhou, who had originally been confident and self-assured, changed his demeanor, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes. Only after both of them were restrained did the political commissar slowly begin to speak. Fu Yunzhou is suspected of abusing his authority, falsifying his identity as a military doctor, and seizing opportunities that belong to other comrades. You must come with us. Seeing this scene, everyone understood the situation perfectly. Fu Yunzhou's superior, in particular, turned pale with anger, his eyes glaring fiercely. Very well, I trusted you so much that I promoted you to the rank of regiment commander. Fu Yunzhou, is this how you repay me? Unethical conduct, truly unethical conduct. He Qing was once again reduced to a sobbing mess, trembling under the encirclement of the guards. Fu Yunzhou, save me, this has nothing to do with me. It was you who did it. But how could Fu Yunzhou spare a thought for her? He was like a clay idol crossing a river, barely able to save himself. He was utterly panicked, and even as he was being dragged away, he was still pleading with me for help. Meow meow, it's you I love. There's really nothing between me and He Qing. Please save me, prove it for me. I just looked at him coldly and calmly. The moment I walked out the door, he finally understood and widened his eyes. It was you. You were the only one at home who found evidence and reported me. Why would you do this? I just whispered softly. Fu Yunzhou, this is your retribution. The two were taken away, and the banquet hall gradually grew quiet. Relatives left one after another, sighing when they saw the child I was holding. Men can't be relied on, but life must go on. This child looks well behaved. They will surely have a promising future. I smiled and thanked them, not asking for my son to be particularly outstanding, just hoping he wouldn't be as morally low as his father. The next day, I boarded the train heading north. Just before I left, news came that Fu Yunzhou had been demoted and punished. Not only did he fail to keep his position as regiment commander, but he was also discharged from the military. The messenger glanced at me and tentatively asked, aren't you going to see him one last time? After all, you were husband and wife for several years. I shook my head. After years of deception, there was nothing left to say between us now. After settling in Beijing, I took my son with me to work, throwing myself wholeheartedly into my job. Though it was more tiring than before, my mood was much lighter. On the day I got promoted, I received a letter from a fellow villager. After Fu Yunzhou and He Qing were released, They immediately got divorced. Fu Yunzhou tried every possible way to find out my new address, but no one was willing to help. Disgraced and stripped of all influence, he had no power left. He Qing had no one to rely on, and with her only son gone, she cried and clung to Fu Yunzhou day after day. The two went from being lovers to enemies, filled with resentment toward each other. Not long after, someone discovered that Fu Yunzhou's house was on fire, and both of them were burned to death inside. It is said that He Qing forcibly dragged Fu Yunzhou to perish together. A fellow villager said that Fu Yunzhou still had some assets left and sent the bankbook to me, his ex-wife. Since we had at least held a wedding ceremony, they asked me again if I wanted to go back for the funeral. As neither of them had any relatives to mourn, I thought about it and sent over some funeral expenses. The past is like fleeting clouds. I don't look back, nor do I want to reminisce. My son babbled and pointed at the windowsill, where a golden ray of sunlight fell, radiant and brilliant. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.